Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our discussion on positive thinking. We are discussing now about the first element of the idea. Idea is an acronym which describes in a nutshell the essential spiritual wisdom of the Vedic literature, which is the foundation for sustainable positive thinking. So, IDEA, identity, divinity, eternity, and activity. So, in that I is what we're discussing, identity. Normally, when someone asks us, who are you? We tell our name, we tell our profession, we tell our position, we may tell our nationality. Now, all these are parts of our identity. But at the same time, these are not our core identity. We can, we can change our name, we can change our nationality, we can change our profession, we can change our position, and yet, despite all these components of our identity changing, we remain the same. So there are components of our identity, and there is a foundation of our identity. And spiritual wisdom focuses on that foundational identity. Where does my sense of I-ness come from? I may say I am an Indian, even our gender. I am a male or I am a female. That is based on a sense of I-ness. So, where does the sense of I-ness come from? That actually comes from our spiritual core. And all the designations, gender, race, nationality, profession, all these are external. They are external components of our identity, but the foundation of our identity is our spiritual core. And that, the Bhagavad Gita explains, is the soul. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapte dhirastatra namohyati. He says dehino asmin yatha dehe, that inside this body, dehinosmin tha dehe, inside the body, the deha, there is dehi, and the body undergoes change. Krishna, we talked about how we can change our profession, our position. Krishna talks about the change that happens through our age. We initially we may say I'm a child, we may say I'm a young person, and I may say I'm a middle-aged person, I'm an elderly person, I'm a senior citizen. So Krishna does not deny these identities, but he takes us beyond these identities, and he says there is that these factors of our facets of our identity change, but still we remain the same, and that unchanging core is the soul. So modern science also is slowly pointing towards our spiritual side. So, for example, the phenomena of consciousness is being increasingly recognized by science as irreducible. So, although we can find correlates for our emotions in the brain, nowhere in the brain is there anything which tells us who is the experiencer. Who is the experiencer? No part of the brain makes triggering of no part of the brain makes us feel that I am the experiencer. It makes us makes certain chain of actions happen. So there are famous Nobel laureate physicists like John Eccles and others who have Wilder Penfield said that the source of consciousness is extracerebral. The brain is like a computer, but it is programmed by something outside of itself, and that programmer, that is the soul. So it is non-cerebral, it is beyond our brain. In fact, it's not just non-cerebral, it is non-material. So there are also many persuasive case studies of near-death experiences and past life memories, which point towards the existence of something which is beyond the body. In near-death experiences, there have been documented cases of people whose body and brain had completely shut down, and yet they were conscious. If consciousness were just a result of certain neurochemical actions in the brain, then how could we be conscious when we are not conscious? This points to the source of consciousness being beyond the body, beyond the brain, and that is the soul. So similarly, past life memories means that there are people who have recollected facts about someone else's life, which facts which they could not have known by any normal means, intimate facts. Not only have they had recollection of facts, but they have done recognition of people. Not only recognition of people, they have also had behavioral patterns similar to what those people had in their previous lives. And not only that, they have also had birthmarks and birth defects similar to what the deceased person had in the previous life. So that person was like a circle who lived here, and this person is a circle who lives here. So there's no commonality between them at the material level. The commonality is at the level of the soul. So the same soul was transmigrated from this body to that body, and that's how the person is able to remember. So past life memories also point towards the existence of a soul beyond the body. So through the phenomena of consciousness, through near-death experiences, through past life memories, we can understand the existence of a soul. These are scientific pointers, and the author Colin Wilson has stated that the sheer amount of evidence, the sheer volume of evidence for survival after death is so immense that to ignore it is like standing at the foot of Mount Everest and insisting that you cannot see the mountain. So there is substantial evidence for those who want to see it. And of course, the evidence for the spiritual side of our being, that is outside the subject of a course on positive thinking. But suffice it to say that science offers pointers and spirituality offers us clear pictures, clearer understandings of what science points towards. And the Bhagavad Gita explains. Now the question often came in Western philosophical circles that if there is a spiritual side to our being, how does the spirit interact with matter? The Bhagavad Gita offers a sophisticated tripartite vision of reality, wherein there is spiritual reality, there is subtle material reality, and there is gross material reality. And through the medium of the subtle material reality, the soul interacts with the gross matter, just as we interact with a computer's hardware through the means of a software, of the software. So we, the user, is like the soul. The software is like the subtle body, which we can roughly equate with the mind, and the hardware is like the body. So our present existence in that sense is three-dimensional: body, mind, and soul. And all these comprise our present being, but our essential being is spiritual. So without going too much into the philosophy, let's focus on our subject, that is, okay, how does understanding our identity help us in positive thinking? So in three ways we can say at a broad level. First is freedom uh, from negativity created by bodily issues, by bodily misidentification. Now uh, we may dream about and aspire for, strive for a dream figure, as they say. But all of us, we may find that there's some deficiency. We may too short, tall, or too short, or too fat, or too thin, or too fair, or too dark. Often our bodily identity leaves us dissatisfied, and that causes negativity. At all, whenever we feel our bodily identity is not good enough, we feel that I am not good enough, and that makes us insecure. Say a woman who is obese and is always worried about her obesity, feeling inferior and insecure as not being sufficiently feminine and attractive because of the obesity. If she understands that I am not the body, then just that understanding that I am not the body can actually free one from so much negativity. Now, obesity can be a problem, it needs to be dealt with, but obesity doesn't have to become a source of constant negativity and cause trouble because of that. So, we can become freed from the negativity when you understand that, oh, I'm not the body. The lot of negative complex can be, we can become free from it. And secondly, freedom from negativity by identification with the body, with the mind. So the mind is, as I said, like a software, and just as software can get corrupted with malware or viruses, similarly, our mind can get corrupted by negative thought pattern, negative habits, and overall, it may just make us into a glutton for suffering, glutton for negativity. We take in more and more negativity, and we cause ourselves suffering by that. But when we understand that we are different from our mind, when we understand, okay, this is a program which is there, but I'm not this program. This thought pattern is coming, but I don't have to accept this thought pattern. I am different from my thought pattern, and I can change my thought pattern just as we can change the program. When we understand that we are different from our mind, that itself creates a safe and empowering distance from the negative thought patterns of the mind, and thus we can deal with the inner negativity also with more confidence. Further, freedom from the negativity caused by fear of death. We all uh, eventually are going to die, and yet we very vigorously deny our mortality so that we can continue to live and live as we hope happily. But when we understand that death is not the end, that is not a termination, it is just a transition. We as souls will be going from this body to another body after our death. When we understand this, then we won't get too caught, too infatuated, we won't get overwhelmed, distressed, horrified, afflicted by the thought of death. We can face death with dignity and with confidence if we have cultivated spiritual consciousness. How we cultivate spiritual consciousness is something which we'll discuss in the later part of our course, but presently we can consider the example of Socrates. He, when he was arrested and he was going to be poisoned, he said that you can't even catch me. How will you kill me? And he himself willingly drank hemlock, the cup of poison by which he was killed. So the point is that he was fearless even in the face of death, and that fearlessness came because of his uh, understanding of our spiritual identity, of one's spiritual identity. So we can also become free from the fear of death by understanding our spiritual identity. So to summarize, the I aspect is identity. We have various aspects to our identity, our state, our nationality, our gender, our education, our position, but these are peripheral. The central identity is that we are souls, and there are strong scientific pointers to the reality of our spiritual side through the irreducibility of consciousness, through near-death experiences, through past life memories. And further we discussed how the understanding that we are a soul, how does the soul interact with the body? Through the mind, which is like the software. The soul is the user and the body is the hardware. So our existence is three-dimensional. And understanding our spiritual identity can free us from the negativity caused by misidentification with the body, negativity caused by misidentification with the mind, and negativity caused by the fear of death. Thank you. We'll continue and discuss about divinity in our next talk. Hare Krishna.